Howdy, I'm Matt and welcome to the genuine fake ZOHD airstrike. Now if you'd like to know more about this model, we're going to build it in this episode, so with that said, let's rewind time and start from the beginning. Howdy, I'm Matt, and in this episode we are going to be building our very own Alpha Strike, model from ZOHD. Now, those of you which are not up to speed with the story, in short, ZOHD have been and launched a new model. That model's not available to us until mid-September. So me being impatient thought, well, I can build my own. We could also build our own, and I've put the plans here, the scaled up image in the video description for you, so you can download it, and you'll just need Acrobat Reader, print as a poster, which I covered in the previous video, and print it out, and then you can use that as a template for your own model. Now, with all that said, I am genuinely surprised on how big this is. When I printed it out, obviously I had 12 sheets of A4 on the desk, but and it was way bigger than what it is. But actually stood here, this model is going to be pretty big for something which is meant to be really fast and as a tree basher. It's going to make its own hole in many bushes, put it that way. I am genuinely surprised on the size of it. So if we grab maybe the AR wing, for example, that is the kind of wingspan which we're expecting from this model. If we also put it in, just to give you an idea on the scale on the screen, those of you which have been following along with the acrobatics dolphin, for example, it's not that far off the same size. In fact, maybe I need to put this on top. So the acrobatics dolphin is a 835 wing, but it's forward swept. This is a delta wing, the Alpha Strike, and that will give us an idea on the size on it. I'm genuinely impressed on the size. Well, it caught me a little bit off guard, like I said. I didn't think it was going to be that big. Now the plan is, as I'm walking away, is I've got a box full of Depron, and what we're going to do, although that works out quite well, because these tips here do fold up on the wings. Now what ZOHD did was provide us with lots and lots of photographs or scale model photographs of the actual Alpha Strike itself. And just for clarity, I have been on already pre-ordered an Alpha Strike. Like I said, I just want one now, and I think maybe a couple of you might follow along and build your own too. Whether it compares anything to the real thing, probably not, to be brutally honest. But this, I'm impatient. I quite like one right now, so that's my plan. Is I'm going to make one out of Depron. I'm going to do, looking at the photographs, is that my first job is to cut out the actual base model itself, so the outside airframe. I will do this minus, well, I'll cut those as part of the fins at the back, the elevons. Then what I'll end up doing is making an exact copy of that, but making it, say, half an inch shorter all the way around the outside, maybe not so much up on the nose, maybe about 1/4 of an inch all the way around, so that I got an extra layer underneath. Then I'm going to build up, then I'm going to focus on this fuselage area here. I'm going to treat it like a, there we go. So this is a NanoDrac prototype, and you'll see what Chris Click here did with this model. He created the fuselage and then the taper and then the wings, and that's the methodology which I'm going to follow with mine as well. Obviously he made his cut EPP foam. I'm using Depron, so my plan is that I'm going to create the fuselage first, and then I'm going to go and do the wings as separate pieces, and then build this up and mould it. I'll probably build it 3 or 4 layers high, maybe get 6mm Depron. So I'll do it to, say, a 3S battery pack or so, or at least Lions, and then build that up. I won't probably doing the air vents on mine. I do think they're a little bit extreme, but like I said, the plan is cut the first one piece out, make a duplicate but make it slightly smaller and put that on the bottom, then go after the fuselage, then I'll go after the wings, and then I'll start doing other things like hatches, putting the servos in and the vertical fins and doing the wingtips as well. I probably will have to fit a vertical horizontal spar in here as well. I may also add some carbon fibre going forwards to give it a little bit of extra rigidity. The plan is glue-wise, probably Yoo-hoo pour, a bit of hot glue. Yoo-hoo pour for the bigger areas because it's cheaper than using and easier than using hot glue, because the hot glue will melt this Delprum foam, because I do run my hot glue gun on 4S, of course, rather than 3S. And then go from there. It does seem a very, very straightforward build, to the point that I think I can manage it. Right? You may have built many models before and then go, Matt, this is going to be a complete piece of piss, and good on you. But for me, it's going to be a bit of a challenge, but I don't think it's going to be that much of a challenge. So with that said, I'm not going to do like a build montage. Instead, what I'll do, I'll give you updates as I progress through the build, and any mistakes or anything which I learn when I go through this, so that I can then pass them on to you. But my first challenge is to get the bulk of this made first, get this big piece cut out, and then try and use up as many spare pieces as possible to be economical with the foam, because it wasn't cheap, to then build up the layer underneath and then go from there. So that's the plan. I'll catch you in a moment. Well, that went a lot quicker than I expected. This is my progress so far. I've set this up so I can have two lids like in the real thing, or genuine fake actually. This is the real thing because we've got it here in front of us. Can't you see? So I've got it set up so we can put a lid in here and a lid in here. I need to work out the little platforms there to maybe put a magnet or just stick a pin in it to hold the lid down, but I can shoehorn it down that way. I think that'll work quite well. I did in the end resort to hot glue of all things, just because it was so much faster, hence why there's hot glue everywhere. There was Yoo-hoo pour, but I ran out of that very, very quickly, just for the sheer amount of stuff I was doing with it. We do have a horizontal spar here, and the mistake which I made is that I should have put the spar underneath, which goes from top to bottom. I should have done that on the first main layer, not on this bottom layer, but like I said, it was a bit of an afterthought. Otherwise this thing was going to get really, really thick very, very quickly. So that was a mistake which I made. I also think, what else mistakes did I make? Yeah, I should have just used hot glue all the way throughout. Although the Yoo-hoo pour was the least expensive way of doing the larger pieces, that has worked out alright. I will be extending the elevons all the way down to here. Oh, that was the big mistake actually. Two really big mistakes. Number one, I should have mounted the servos first. And then if I wanted a super clean build, I would have mounted the servos first. I'll probably put them up here on the wings. It will be exactly, it will be on the same plane as this surface, not the model. So they'll be mounted up here somewhere to get the CG forwards. I have kept the back as flat as possible for the motor. I don't know what motor I'll be putting on it just yet, and I may curve that round. And also for the ESC, I don't know where that's going to go, whether it's in here or out here, not too sure yet. But that's the progress of my Ultra Strike so far. I'm quite pleased on this. I have just made it up as I've gone along. I have been just checking on the photos in my phone to get it roughly close, and I feel this is roughly close. I will be cutting off these pieces here on the wings, like so, and getting those out of the way, and that's another thing which I've got to admit to. I have been using the ruler throughout for most pieces, like building up these pieces. It's just like a pyramid. They have getting bigger and bigger. I should be able to get a decent sized battery in there. I may need to carve that out a little bit, but I did end up, by the end of it, you can see how straight that is there. I have kind of got bored of it. I think that's a sign for me to quit this now for a while. I will come in with the craft knife. I'll put a fresh blade in there and I'll start trying curving up some of these edges, especially around this nose area, so that you'll see how many layers I've got in there. So there was the original layer, that was the base copy of that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm 9 layers thick of Depron in there. There is quite a bit of weight to this, but not massive amount, to the point that I'm not worried. I won't need a big motor on this model to make it fly, that's for sure. I may cheat and actually put a flight controller in this, and the reason why I may cheat is because it will get over any instabilities which it has. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? To do yourself a favour, if you've got a spare flight controller, you might as well use it just to give some stabilisation to it, to help keep it in the sky. I may do that with this one. We'll see what happens. But yeah, things have ended up a little bit hacky. I need to straighten out a few things, but I've made excellent progress in about 40 minutes or so. So yeah, happy days. with that said, by the magic of video editing, I'll be back to this later and you'll see this now. Right, so since the last video, quite a few things have happened, and I'll turn it over so you can see it at the underside as well. I have made massive progress here on the workbench this morning. I've just chucked 30 minutes at it and I've got this far, which is really quite far down the line. I need to add some FPV, put the servos in and a motor, but besides that, visually we are very, very, very close. So a couple of things to pick up, or a couple of things which I did, is that having the full scale printout came very useful. I was able to cut out one of the knacker duct shapes. I was able to line this up on here so I could work out where the canopy was, and all I did was hold the canopy down. I put some tape underneath. Oh, I've missed a step. What I used is one of those foam sanding pads and carved out, used the brand new blade on there, carved out loads of bits, and then sanded it down. I did the edges, I did the wings, I did all the body, I did the tail, I did the underneath, and then for this body section just got some black tape, just some cheapo builder's tape, and which we use as model repair, although in this case it's actually making a model. There's some irony for you, is that just put that over the top, cut round with a knife, and that's how I was able to get the side section. So I did that with those pieces and then tuck them round. I've got two lid sections with little tabs on the ends. They do sit in there quite nicely. I'm not worried about them blowing off in flight. He says, and I'm sure they will now blow off in flight, but hey ho. And I'm not sure they'll go straight through the motor as well. I put some tape on the leading edges to mimic their design, to save the leading edges, which I think was a really good idea, especially in this very foam. There's no weight to this at all. I think probably the tape which I've used is heavier than the rest of the model. It weighs literally grams. The fins themselves, I've kind of made up my own kind of design for them. They are similar to what ZOHD had. I kind of looked at some photos and just free-handed it off a bit of Deprom, and I've just hot glued them in. I did use too much hot glue, but then I've had fins come off in flight. I've got the wingtips on there, and I do need to do the elevons. Taking a look underneath, I did, maybe I need to, oh, I've done one side and not the other. So what all I was doing here with the foam is just getting a craft knife in there. You can tell this is not the sharpest blade anymore. Just going in there and crafting that down like so, and I'll probably give that a quick sand as well, just to, yeah, I need to change the angle on that. And if I was really that bothered or that pedantic about it, I would have maybe measured the distance away from the edge so both sides were uniform, and then let's just give that a quick sand. Need a bit more support underneath, like so. Yeah, that's got to be like 80 grit on there, and it's really pulling that foam off really nicely. And I bet that's coming out fantastic on the camera. There you go, lots and lots of foam dust absolutely everywhere, and then I've just turned it over and used the probably 120 grit on the back. There you go. Good, that's close enough and that's good enough for me. Now I am super curious on the weight of this. So with that said, let's get the scales on. Oh, I need to put that on the scales so I got something to balance on. Right, that's 0 grams. So their model, I remember from the stats, came in at 303 grams for the kit. This one comes in at 197 grams. Now those of you which do ounces, that's 7 ounces. So like I said, this really doesn't weigh absolutely anything at all. And so far I'm super impressed. In fact, I'm going to go and take some photos of it and go and share it on Instables. By the way, if you're not following me on Instagram, an absolute shameless plug, I'll put a link to it in the video description. Look up Rag the Nuts Off on Instagram. And those of you which are watching this video, I would have sadly already been posted all these stats out on Instagram already. So if you want to stay up to date with the things which are going on here at the workbench or out at the flying field or just RC in general, then get yourself subscribed over on Instables. Right, so with that shameless plug, need to get the electronics on it, and I can do that by the magic of video editing now. Wish that camera would stop wobbling every time I press play. Anyway, So we are 99.9% ready. All I need to do now is put 2 control rods on and I need to copy my Dart 250 config because I think that's going to be close enough. I'll even copy the auto launch settings as well straight across for this one too. So sheet has been done, so a quick rundown. We are going to go front to back or back to front. Let's do front to back. So we have the Fox here, I've forgotten which one it is. It's a tiny little FPV camera and these things are absolutely amazing. Razor, Fox Ear Razor, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Yes, it is the Razor. Absolutely fantastic, super cheap, mostly pointing straight forwards. It's straighter in real life than what it looks on that camera for sure. There is a bit of a telltale sign by an antenna pointing out the left hand side of the model. In the battery bay, which I need to put a bit of Velcro in, is that we have TBS Crossfire in there. The receiver's up underneath there. Do need to put a bit of Velcro in there, and I've got the battery connector. The one thing which is probably quite crucial is that I've not really worked out the centre of gravity, which I will do very quickly because I think I should be able to balance it with a 1300 3S. Because I reckon the centre of gravity is about there, and yeah, that's nose heavy. I will check the manual for it. I will run it only with 3S to begin with. If the 1300 is not enough nose weight, then I can put a 2200 3S in there quite easily. That's really straightforward. Moving on to the main event as far as this model goes is, the more I thought about it, the more I thought it was sensible to stick a flight controller in there. And if I bring this up so you can have a closer look, we do have the Maytech F722WPX flight controller in there. And that's flashed with iNav 2.6, a point whatever that version is. I'm keeping well away from version 3.0 of iNav, or whatever the latest version of iNav is. I'm just frankly going to let someone else find any bugs and features in it. And to be honest, there is no compelling reason for me to upgrade all my models to a later version of other than 2.6, because 2.6 works really well for me, and I don't want to spend the time of going back, retrimming, etc, resetting up a load of models. So that point aside, that board does come with a beeper and USB-C connector. We've got power down the side. FPV transmitter. I've got the Eachine 5808. I think that's the video 5.8 video transmitter on there. We've got an Raystar 30 amp ESC. We've got a Raystar 2205S, 2300 kV. It should be. Does it say on there? Yes, 2300 kV with I don't know why it's so. I'm hoping it's a 6-inch prop because that's what I meant to get out of the box. Yes, with a 6-inch prop of some shape or form. Servos out in the wings. I did get a bit lazy and used a soldering iron on that side, so there's a little bit of a boo-boo there. The lids seem to go down okay once I fettle with it. I did have to make a few trim settings on there to make that fit. I probably will put a pin or two in these lids just to make sure they stay on during flight. But there she is ready to go. Yeah, really impressed by what I've been able to create in reality. Very, very little time. I'm talking probably about 3 hours in so far. I think that's going to be, 3 hours all in so far, and I've got to do the iNav settings, so that's just going to be copy and paste in 5 minutes on the computer. In fact, it's going to take longer for me to go and find the USB lead to connect it to the computer than what it is going to take me to put that in there. The only thing which is unknown is whether that motor's spinning the right way or not, and I'll probably need to calibrate that. Well, no I won't, because I'll be able to run it on D-Shot or something similar, or one-shot. Whether that motor's spinning the right way or not, that could be 5 minutes in B-Hill Heli. If that's what it, yes, it'd be BL Heli, so I run that on there. I'll set the trims, maybe a little bit of up trim in the elevons, but besides that, all that weight. Now remember, the kit from ZOHD was advertised as being 303 grams, and this kit Bear, or this model, was 197 grams, and there was quite a few people commented over both on YouTube and on Instagram about this model being, oh wow, with that black tape on there I bet it's really heavy. No, I was well under 100 grams lighter than the actual official kit. So that's set at 0. I'm going to put this on there, so that's everything excluding a battery. And it's coming up at 14.1 ounces. Or not millilitres, let's get this into 402 grams. I don't think that's bad for a model of this size, and we'll put a battery in on top, because that's what I'm going to be using, at 522 grams all up weight for my model. That's including the battery. I don't think that's that bad. Yeah, what am I missing? 2 little control rods which weigh nothing, and a bit of spiky Velcro to go in the front. So yeah, 500 grams, give or take a few. I think I've done pretty well. So with that said, if you would like to join me for the maiden, the next video-ish, I say ish because I don't know what the actual release schedule is at the moment, I'm going to get this one out and get it maidened. If that's something which you would like to see, don't forget to press the red subscribe button underneath this video. If you have any questions or comments about this model, please let me know in the comments section underneath this video here on YouTube. And remember, the plans, the kit, I covered previously. That's it. Just follow your own nose when you're doing it. But yeah, it's really straightforward. So it's taken 2 big sheets of Depron, 6mm Depron to make this. I could have perhaps been a little bit more efficient in 1 or 2 places, and I've got loads and loads of offcuts, which was to be expected. I didn't realise, now in hindsight, I didn't realise how messy it would be when I started sanding this thing. The floor here is horrific, to say the least, so I need to go and find a vacuum cleaner and clean up the office. But she's basically ready to go. It is like for like. Let me just put this on the desk so you can see. It's a scale replica of the ZOHD Airstrike. That was the outline which I used, blown up to be exactly the same dimensions, given a point something of a millimetre, and that's what I've been and ended up with. So I have bought the real kit, but I think those of you which are on a budget, or those of you which don't want to go and spend however much, remember, oh, and I'll do it on this episode as well, I'll put links to the PDF in the video description. Open that up in Acrobat Reader, choose poster when you go to print, of course choose draft as well to save some ink, print it out, comes out on 12 pieces of paper, or that's UK A4, and just use that as an outline and off you go. Just find your way as you go. There was nothing difficult. I've not self-made, and I've not made a foam model like this in absolutely ages, and none of it was rocket science. My only tip for you is that I would suggest that you use Yoo-hoo pour glue for the big areas, because that's really cheap in the scheme of things, but the rest of it just use hot glue, because a few extra grams isn't going to make a blind bit of difference weight wise, and for the speed which you get is infinitely faster to get this thing built. So yeah, if I was building this again, of course, and of course if you were building this, you can see mine here, it's not taking that long, and I'm sure somebody will ask about the number of layers. So from the bottom layer I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers, and that's the top, and that's the 5th layer on the top. Just carved it out with a craft knife and sanded it down with a sanding pad like you saw me do earlier, and I'm frankly super impressed. I think this is going to fly super well. To be honest, I don't think I really need iNav in this as a crutch. I think that's what it is actually. It's going to be a crutch to make it a little bit easier to fly, so I don't smash it into pieces. I think this is actually going to fly really, really well, as is line of sight out of the box. Well, off the bench, should I say. So with that said, the next video is going to be out very, very shortly. It'll be the maiden of the genuine fake ZOHD Airstrike. So with that said, for myself, Matt, a big thank you to you to joining me here at the workbench, and I'll see you shortly. Remember, if you've enjoyed this episode, do me a thumbs up. If you didn't think it was very good, basically if you thought this episode was shit, do me a huge favour, bash that like button 3 times in absolute disgust. I adore you for doing that. So with that said, for myself, Matt, cheerios!